Hi, my name's Jim, and I wanted to show you some cool software and some cool data. For the software, we're going to take a look at Viewpoints, which was a program originally written at NASA designed to look at large multi-dimensional data sets. And for the data, we're going to take a look at the data from the Yelp Dataset Challenge. It includes data from the Phoenix area on reviews, users, businesses, check-ins, all the stuff you'd see on the normal Yelp website. So if you go ahead and download this data, you'll basically get a bunch of JSON files like you see here. The JSON files have things like the review text, the number of stars given, the business ID, that sort of thing. First thing we have to do is convert this into a CSV format. CSV is one of the formats that Viewpoints uses most easily. I wrote a quick script here to do that for us and also put it on GitHub. So after you run this, you'll wind up with a CSV file that you can open up in Viewpoints. So let's open up Viewpoints and take a look. This is Viewpoints. You'll see there are four kind of data windows here and one control window. And the way I run this is with the -B, capital B Bravo argument. That'll turn off some OpenGL stuff that winds up being crashing my computer sometimes. And the -L command, which makes the control panel a little bit smaller for laptops. So we're going to open up the file, the CSV file we made here, and make sure to check that it's comma delimited, and we can leave this comma labels option unchecked. So when we hit OK here, it'll load up the data for us. And you can see immediately we have a lot of data here across different dimensions. And that's what Viewpoints is really useful for. These four windows, you can change the axes so you can take a look visually at all of the data that you have and compare them. Up in the first data window, you can see that we're plotting these reviews on the number of useful votes they have and the number of funny votes they have. And as you might expect, they're fairly well correlated, although you have some outliers out here. And that's what visual software is really good at, letting you easily spot patterns in that data. So if you want to kind of randomly stumble upon other interesting points, you can use this Change Axes button, and it'll randomly permutate the axes that you're looking at so that you can kind of randomly discover interesting correlations, outliers, that sort of thing. So if you wanted to be specific, you can look at how words, the number of words in a review are correlated with different metrics. So if you click the All tab up here, you're going to be changing all of the axes for your data windows. And we can take a look at words across all of these. And why don't we go through and take a look at how words correspond with funny votes on a review, useful votes, cool votes we already have open, and for window 4 here, we can select stars. So as you can see, we're looking at how words correlate with all of these different axes. And one of the nice things that you can do here is start highlighting different areas, and you can see in other boxes that your highlighted, your blue points, will appear in those other boxes. So as points in this window get highlighted, the corresponding points in the other windows will get highlighted as well. So on the right here, you might be wondering what the general distribution of the star rating is, kind of independent of these words. And for that, you can use one of these histogram features. So we can select window number 4 here, use one of the ways for building histograms, and select that histogram. And we can see over here that in the kind of light blue outline, the histogram of where these values are. And similar to Yelp website as a whole, we see a lot of 5-star, 4-star reviews and kind of trailing off in the 3, 2, 1 area. So these histograms are useful for looking at how the data is distributed in one particular dimension. So as we saw at the beginning, useful and cool votes were correlated pretty well with one another. So one thing we might want to check out is how they correlate with other voting types. So again, we can go to this All tab and select cool as our x-axis across all windows. And you can see here, indeed, funny votes, they're also pretty well correlated. Useful votes, they're very well correlated. So that's kind of an interesting fact that we've discovered. And over here in the top, we have one of these artifacts where we're comparing cool against cool, so we have an exact linear correlation, as you might guess. So one of the other things that you can do, let me show off a little more highlighting here, is in this first window, why don't we take a look at the date as the x-axis, and maybe down here in box 2 we could take a look at the user review count, which is right here. And again, we can see that when we highlight different areas here, those blue points will show up in other areas. And you can use the normal kind of shift or command modifiers to change the way that the graph is displayed. So one of the things you might want to do with these selections is actually change the data that you're looking at. So let's say we wanted to look at only users who had more than 500 reviews or so. We could select that in our box here that has user review count as the axis, and then use this kill selected option, which completely removes these data points from our analysis. And you can see that all the graphs got recalculated after that, and we see a slightly different distribution. So this is really handy for removing either outliers or just data points that you don't really want to see in your collection. So there's many other cool features in here, different kinds of select, different kinds of normalization and scaling, but I'll leave that for you to explore. If you want to download this, check out the Assembla, the Viewpoints Assembla page, which has downloads for different operating systems. I ended up having to compile this myself for x86 64-bit. If you need to do something like that, you could check out my fork of Viewpoints on GitHub and have a lot of fun. Cheers.